gates started appearing all over the world. Researchers studied the phenomenon, but life moved on for everybody, despite the concerns. The saint applies to Yunjin, Han Yunjin. He takes a rest from loading boxes in the truck. His colleague hands him a bottle of water. His colleagues learn that Yunjin is working hard to save money for his younger brother's college. With their parents passing at a young age, Yunjin had to drop out of school to support them. Nice. Our MC's serious about responsibility. Yunjin proudly shows a picture of his brother to his colleagues while praising how handsome, tall, good and super talented that brother of his is. His love for his brother becomes apparent as he drones on about how great he was. We've got an MC with a brother complex. He only stops when he remembers that his brother Yuhyun will be getting out of classes early in a different area. A handsome student sits inside the bus as he looks over the gate. This student is probably Yuhyun, the object of Yunjin's affection. Yunjin talks with his colleagues regarding the booming moving business because people are moving because of the gates. Yunjin looks at the gate in their area and realizes a noticeable change. The gate's original blue color has changed to red. Red is definitely bad news. With a loud thud, the truck farmer suddenly stops. Yunjin climbs off to look and sees a giant bird-like monster on top of their vehicle. With a swoosh, the beast attacks the truck, and Yunjin sees a horde of flying monsters over the city. So to explain a bit of the story's setting, the gates became portals leading to other dimensions that people later called dungeons. From those gates, monsters got through. It was also discovered that monsters could only get through if the dungeon wasn't cleared, causing monster overpopulation. Yes, they get overpopulated over time. This phenomenon where monsters come out is later called dungeon break, and if dungeon breaks coincide or break in great numbers, it is called dungeon shock. Returning to Yunjin, he runs towards the monster with a stick and calls for his boss. I doubt a stick would do any good in this fight. Suddenly the boss lady stops the bird-like monster from attacking with her bare hands. This girl is on fire. To give humans a chance to fight against these monsters, certain individuals have awakened. They were later called hunters, responsible for hunting monsters and clearing the dungeons. With the existence of dungeons, hunters became the most essential occupation in the world. As for Yunjin's younger brother, Yuhyun Han, the handsome young man from the bus stands amongst the monsters' corpses. His hands are enveloped in black fire. Yunjin's baby brother, whom he loves so dearly, became one of the world's strongest S-rank hunters that day, an OP character for a brother. 8 years have passed since the dungeon shock, a time skip. A woman shows her awakened powers in a show, explaining the status window and how it shows a list of skills a person can use. This person is Yumi, who has an affinity for mold and moss, and developed phytokinesis as she awakened. She became a hunter after the incident and joined a guild. They go to dungeons to find mana stones, rare gems only found in dungeons. With the existence of S-rank hunters, challenging dungeons can be cleared, and these are also more rewarding. Among them, Yuhyun Han is one of the most famous S-rankers in Korea. He has created the Abyss Guild, and is known as the youngest guild master in the country. At 25, he is already rich beyond belief, and there's no mention of Yunjin. The program continues with an interview with Yumi, who expresses that E-rankers like her can only dream of becoming rich. The interview cuts to the news that this hunter featured in Hunter Files' show recently died in a dungeon raid. Oof! This reminds everyone that being a hunter comes with a great price. The TV drones on as an injured man listens in a crouched position. Wait, is this the MC? A gate is open in one area and people are littered outside. A man wearing a red jacket complains to his boss about hiring an F-ranker wimp like Yujin Han in their raid. Yunjin sits in a chair, looking down, with 2 crutches beside him. He removes his mask as he acknowledges the complaining person. He's going to enter a dungeon in that condition. The boss stops the complainer from making more ruckus. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. Who is the most sus Manhwa character? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. The red jacket dude complains some more and says how Yunjin gets to survive every raid while the rest gets wiped out. He kept talking more crap, adding salt by mentioning how Yuhyun abandoned Yunjin. No, Yunjin raised him into what he is today. How could he abandon his older brother? What happened in those 8 years? Seriously, hearing this insult got Yunjin all riled up. He grabbed the complainer. The complainer simply laughs and kicks Yunjin in the chest. The guy mocks Yunjin for thinking he can mess with a D-ranker like him. Yunjin can only curse at him. Their team boss approaches Yunjin and gives him a buff by hardening his bones. While this won't heal Yunjin's legs, he can move more manageably in the following hours. The boss tells Yunjin to ignore the other guy. Yunjin can only grin and accept these words. Yunjin apologizes to the boss for having to mediate between them and encourages the boss while he's at it. The boss smiles and gives his thanks. They both stood up, and the boss walked away and smacked the red jacket dude in the head. The boss scolds the guy for bullying Yunjin and proudly says that Yujin's a walking encyclopedia on dungeons and monsters. Yunjin's knowledge might save you one day. Yunjin activates a skill and checks his influence. He confirms that Guildmaster Lim is under his influence. Yunjin doesn't care if he gets called ominous or a parasite because those names are not entirely wrong. The guild leader calls for Yunjin as they'll enter the dungeon. Yunjin swears that he'll survive with his skill. Inside the dungeon, hunters are fighting monsters using their skills. The boss reminds them to be careful while the others are busy with the hunt. Yunjin is busy mining for mana stones. The red jacket dude tells him to keep up since the guild will take 80% of everything he digs up. He's basically working for scraps as the rude guy kept saying crap. Yunjin started imagining him as an evil stepmother who won't stop nagging, like Cinderella. Yunjin started singing listlessly as he thought about how his brother abandoned him after awakening. Despite his begging, Yuhyun left, and Yunjin got drafted into the military. He still has to serve despite the chaos at this time. Yuhyun built his own guild, Abyss, that grew unrivaled in their country. It looks like his brother has already forgotten about Yunjin. As Yunjin was left behind, he could only think about awakening himself. He chose to take all his savings and go to a broker to help him awaken. The broker tricked him into signing a contract, and Yunjin did manage to awaken, except Yunjin only awakened as an F rank. I think this proves how Yunjin cared for his brother to the point that he barely cared for himself. Awakening with a useless rank only made him get criticized by the media and fall into debt. Yuhyun had to clean up his mess, and he bluntly states Yunjin's title of nurture custodian or caregiver. We'll stick with caregiver, whatever it is. Yunjin got the title for raising an S ranker. Yuhyun tells him he shouldn't be so shameless, for he can't nurture him because all Yunjin does is cling to his feet and drag him down. Even with Yunjin's bad luck, his legs broke in one of his dungeon raids. He asked Yuhyun for help, but Yuhyun refused to lend his brother a healer. Yuhyun even thought it would be better to have his brother's legs broken so that he'll stop going into dungeons. He tells Yunjin to live a quiet life and stop dragging him down. Yunjin grimly grins as he thinks of the past and how he's useless as an older brother. He may be a parasite, but believes he can still survive in a dungeon with his skill. He can give the influence person a small buff with his care and encouraging words. That is his primary skill. But it's insufficient to let him survive. His title as a caregiver has given him a hidden skill that has saved his life every time he is in a pinch. A system suddenly informs Yunjin that his final thanks skill has been activated. The skill lets him gain double the effect of the target's skills and stats. Instead of being glad, this makes Yunjin nervous, and he starts limping to where everyone is. Yunjin's hidden skill, Final Thanks, lets him gain double the effect of the target stats and skills for a limited time. He survived a dungeon all this time because of this specific skill, but this skill is ominous. To activate the skill, it means that the target under his care is dead. A skill's effects sound good, but the activation cost isn't something a sane person would really wish for. Yunjin rushes as he limps and reaches the hunting party. The ground is filled with blood, and Yunjin finds the body of the guild leader on the floor. He hears growling and looks up. A monster with 3 heads has the rude guild member in its mouth. The red jacket dude curses at Yunjin for jinxing them, and those were his last words as he died. What a way to serve justice. Looking aghast, Yunjin can only stare as the last member dies. He realizes the monster is Locutus, the dragon king of venom and curses. Nobody has ever slain it, and it's a tier 1 dragon deemed undefeatable. So what is it doing in a D-ranked dungeon? The 3-headed dragon Locutus looms over Yunjin. Yunjin limps as he ponders why it is in a D-ranked dungeon. Yunjin uses the skill Fortified Legs on himself to give him a better chance of escaping. This is the skill the guild leader previously used on him. With its double effects, he runs away as he thinks of a way out. I doubt it'll make much difference. Lauchitas's tail narrowly misses him and hits the rocky ground instead. The monster launches another attack with its tail as Yunjin thinks of how he can survive. The tail whacks him, and Yunjin flies off and tumbles. He spills blood from his nose and mouth, thinking he is no match for the monster. The guild leader's memories start entering Yunjin's head, showing him what had happened with Lauchitas. The memory is only horrifying Yunjin more, and he trembles as he realizes he can move his legs. Seeing how a person horribly dies will make anyone squirm. Lauchitas roars as Yunjin clenches his eyes shut, thinking he doesn't want to die. A loud explosion goes off, and Yunjin is whisked away by Yuhyun. Shocked by his brother's appearance, Yunjin can only ask Yuhyun for help. Yunjin hides behind the rocks and tells his brother to stay back. Yuhyun turns his back as Yunjin warns him. Yuhyun faces Lauchitas and activates his skill, Blue Willow Leaves. A swirl of blue willow leaves appears, and Yuhyun dashes toward Lauchitas by stepping on the leaves. As Yuhyun reaches one of its heads, it gets wrapped in black flames, and he stabs the monster's head with it. The fast movement of his brother amazes Yunjin as he thinks, this is how an S-ranker fights. Yuhyun sees one of the heads gurgling a green substance from its mouth, and he leaps away. Yunjin screams for him to watch out because there is no antidote for Lauchitas' poison, which can cause a curse when it touches him. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.